Okay, it looks like we got a live stream going. All right. Okay, my name's Moshe, and I'm coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. I think today's the 12th, November, 8:21 in the morning. Our weather is cooling off. Let's see what we got here. 70 degrees now, high of 77. Yeah, yeah. They're talking Friday rain and Saturday. Oh, Shabbat punishment weather, I suppose. Talk about punishment. The Sea of Galilee is at the lowest level it's been in many decades. And do the people understand that that's got meaning? No. Do the rabbis teach them that? Oh, heck no. Never in a million years would they ever teach them anything like that. No. No, they're here to curse Israel, not help Israel. Okay. So we're going to cover some very significant things in the news today. America is intending to build a $500 million base in Gaza, and they're already looking for sites to build the base. They're inspecting various sites. They seem to be wanting to have two Gazas. One is going to be, Trump casino resorts, and the other is going to be, the people in Gaza living in some experimental, advanced eco city. That's pretty much the way this is playing out. Okay? The interior land of Gaza that's not on or near the water is not of high value to the resort casino, concept. It's not. They want beachfront resorts, and they also want to build islands. And then they want to have like some cities where the people that don't leave Gaza can live, and they're basically probably never going to work, and they're going to just be a drain, and that's all they are, And they're going to keep trying to kill Israel, and it's I don't know what he intends to do. He might put barriers, walls up, and stop them from being able to enter the area where the tourists are, or he might use them as cheap labor. I don't know what he's going to do, but I can tell you this is never going to happen. How many years is it going to take? Well, they're talking 10. If Trump accelerates it, they get something done in 4 or 5. There's no prophetic time for that to ever happen. It's not going to work. But you can't talk to Trump. He's a thick-headed dumbbell, doesn't believe in God, doesn't fear God, fears Satan, fears the devil, fears man. Where's he going to go? He's he's a loser out of the box, like everybody else that thinks like that. Okay. We're going to talk about Trump coming up with a stimulus package. He said in his social media, I think, that he's looking at least $2,000 a person. And we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the ceasefires, peace, whatever you want to call them, are not real. We're attacking Lebanon every day. We're attacking Gaza every day. But we're going to make believe with Trump and go delusional and say there are real ceasefires. Okay? Hezbollah is getting ready to try to attack us. Hamas is not making a deal with us. They're not disarming. That means they need to be forcibly disarmed. Trump never said that it's okay if Gaza stays armed, and because he can't rebuild, he can't build Trump casino resorts with Hamas running around with weapons. What if he puts up a, $900 million resort and they don't like Trump and they shoot a missile at it? One missile can cost Trump 150, $250 million by condemning a whole hotel. You build a 40-story hotel or 50 stories or whatever the heck he's going to build, and you hit it with a good missile with a 1,500, 2,500 pound warhead. I don't know how much of that building would not be condemned. What if you hit it with 4 or 5 drones? Surely that's the end. Sure. He's got to get their weapons away. And then when they do the new cities, I think what they'll do is search everybody. When they come into these cities, they'll search their luggage, their baggage, their furniture. And they'll take the pistols, the bullets, the rifles, everything away. And they'll run them through metal detectors to make sure they don't have them under their hijab or in their pants or something. And that's it. So they'll have gun control all over the place. But prophetically, it's never going to happen. But it's interesting to talk about it, So the ceasefires are going to fall apart in Lebanon and Gaza. And we're not going to phase 2 because they're not disarming. So Israel's going to pull the troops out more, when they don't disarm. What are we, crazy? Then they'll open up the crossing at Rafah and they'll get weapons from Egypt, who hates our guts by their actions, and they'll start raining missiles down on Israel. Come on, we're not going to do that. So those 2 ceasefires are going to fail very quickly, and then the Houthis in Lebanon, in Yemen, announced they're going to resume their actions if the ceasefires break down. And their opinion is that Hamas is basically playing, we returned the hostages, now we want a ceasefire for 3.5 to 5 years and rebuild. And we're not going to disarm, and we're not going to leave the government or anything else. So all the things they said they were going to do are not going to happen. So it's not going to phase 2. So you're going to have fighting again with Lebanon and Gaza and Yemen. What will Iraq do? Well, Iran's been rearming Iraq avidly. So I don't know what they're going to do. And what's Iran going to do? They've been rearming themselves. But we don't know. That could be... They're planning on attacking the American bases in the other oil-rich countries and Israel, or they're worried about being attacked and they want to be able to defend themselves if they get attacked. So I can't tell you which it is. Okay? They took a significant shellacking from us in that 12-day war, and it continued for another 30 days. At least, or 45 days, with constant explosions all over Iran. So they took a bad hit. They're not ready to go back. Now, we took a bad hit too, but nothing like what they did. They got trouble with their water. They're talking about if it doesn't rain soon, they're going to shut down Tehran and evacuate everybody. That's very good consistency with Elam. Okay. Let me go into the live stream. We'll cover other things, and then we're going to cover Elijah's role in the greater scheme of things coming up on us very shortly. Okay? And so we're kind of picking up on Elijah from yesterday. We kind of took a historical look at him yesterday, and today we'll take more of a prophetic look. I don't, honestly, I understand that the Trump people are budgeting we got $500 million for, the military base in Gaza. Honestly, I don't know if that's a lot of money for a military base or not. Okay. I am. I don't know. I think it is. Yeah, it's nighttime for a lot of people. I'm in Israel. I'm in the Galilee of Israel. It's really, I've gone through this many times. It's, you guys that don't like old people and like to make fun of them, would you like us to pray that you die young? Schmucks. You don't have any brains. Make fun of old people. Yeah, Greta could stop the war by herself. I'm not so sure Greta's name shouldn't be George. Okay, we got sound and picture. I'm going to do some praise, being a Bible-believing site. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Why is Trump putting a $500 million base in Gaza? Because he's using the American public money and resources to protect his investment and that of his family and friends' investment in Gaza, turning it into the Trump Middle East Riviera. Okay? And they'll create all the laws that they want for Gaza. So this is their dream, not what's going to ever happen. But they'll do duty free, so people can go there and buy duty free. Real duty free, maybe, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Probably real duty free. They're going to build private islands. Well, they're going to build little islands like the UAE did. A few hundred meters into the water, 60 meters, 30 meters, 100 meters, not very far out. They're not going to go 600 meters where the water's going to be deep. They wouldn't do it. They just move. You got 25 miles of beachfront in Gaza. Do you understand that? And the valuable land is really going to be a quarter of a mile from the the water line, or where the beach, where the sand meets the water. Okay, because it's very, very advantageous for them to build the resorts with beachfront property. So I don't know, they could build a big resort on what, 12 acres, 15 acres, 18 acres, not a lot of land. Okay, they don't need a lot. They give 250, 300 meters of beachfront that goes in 4 blocks, and they could build an amazing resort there. They'll put 2 or 3 buildings up with rooms, maybe with connecting walkways of some sort, right? They'll have huge swimming pools connected, maybe with those, moving streams they build in the swimming pool, where you could sit in a raft and drift, and they drop water on you occasionally and that kind of thing. And then they also have some, probably at least 3 large swimming pools too, anyway. And then they'll have a children's section. They'll have a bunch of jacuzzis around the place. They'll have uh, shea lounges. They'll have cabanas. They'll have a theater where they'll have music and they could show shows at night, things like that, right? They'll have restaurant buffet area. They'll have a gym, workout area, massage. People can get massages. Um, and then in the hotel property, they'll have gambling casinos on the lower level, the lobby level, and they'll have a show place, theaters. They'll have bars with entertainment, and the Las Vegas stuff, buffets, and then come the hotel rooms, and the hotel rooms will have beautiful views of the ocean. Most of them, some will face inland. It has to be that way, and that would be the general model. Then they'll also be able to, at the sand, they'll be able to, give the people a shea lounge if they want to lay on the sand, or a little shea lounge with a cover over them, or a park cover for shade. And they'll put fences so that the hotel property beach is their beach, so they don't have stray coming over. And they'll also have, paragliding. This is their dream. It's not real, but it'll never happen. But they'll do the paragliding. They'll have water skiing for the guests. They'll have probably you'll be able to go on fishing trips. Knowing Trump, they'll have a 18-hole golf course built that all the hotels will draw on. Um, so you could put, let's say you got 25 miles of beachfront, and every mile you could put, at least 6 big resorts, or probably 10. You know how many resorts you could put up there? Now, they're not just going to do resorts in their minds. They'll get a hold of MGM, Disney, Universal Studios, and they'll put up, theme park. They'll try for 2. They'll have 1. They'll try to put 2 up. They'll just give them a sweetheart deal on the land. Nothing, give it to them for free. I don't know. The hotels, I mean, Trump's not going to pay top dollar for the hotels that his family's going to get. The hotel, casinos, resorts, and then there's going to be condominiums they're going to sell. People will put condominiums up there. They'll use them for vacations. They'll go 2 weeks a year and then they'll rent them out. Okay. And that might be the golf course. Trump will probably put 2 or 3 towers on a golf course, and that'll be his golf course, but he'll open it up to the other hotels, probably, maybe not, maybe yes. And they'll put a boat basin, place where people could moor yachts and sailboats. They'll have that. They'll create a discount shopping mall or 2, probably not more than that, 2 or 3. They'll, maybe they'll have 3 or 4 stories and it'll be large, it might be 300,000-400,000 square feet on a floor, or at least 50,000. And, they'll get Louis Vuitton and Carolyn Herrera and Tom Ford and, Rolex and Gucci and Schmoochie and Gababucci, they'll all go there and open up their stores and sell duty free. They'll have clothing duty free. People will open up nice restaurants, probably inside the hotels. Trying to think. So the hotels will have the live shows, the entertainers, people will have these little islands they'll build. We'll have a little bridge to go from the mainland to the island. It'll have security. So the people that live in these islands will be mostly condominiums, I expect, and they'll be free from tourists. Or it could go the other way. They could build hotels there, and they would be segregated away from the other tourists, so high-end hotels. And I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, because it's never going to come to pass, but they think it is. They'll also sell houses, but the house is a bad investment for them. They'll build private islands and put houses on those. They could put them on 360, that they'll do. Remember, 25 miles, it's a lot of private islands they can pop up. And, so they're talking in the trillions, beyond the billions here. See, Vegas has gotten its deficiencies, and I'll explain. You've got the buildings. You got downtown Las Vegas, which are the schlock casino hotels, and not that nice, right? They got lower betting minimums, and the rooms are much cheaper, and the food is much cheaper, and they do get a good draw down there. And then you have the Strip in Las Vegas, where you have the, really nice casinos that are themed, the Caesar's Palace, and I can't remember all the, they got all of those good ones out there. But they have no beach. They got all the discount shopping. They got all the the high-end name brand shopping. They got all of that. Do they have a theme park? No. The MGM Hotel years ago, I was there, I was there in the 90s, the late 90s. They built a small theme park on the hotel. It was about 1/8 the size of Magic Kingdom. It was really a lot of nothing with nothing. You could do the whole park in 3 hours. There was nothing. I mean, they shut it out. They shut it down after a few years. It was a good attempt, but it wasn't the winner. The best thing they had was they had this big meandering swimming pool river in a swimming pool where you could get on a raft or it was a ring, an inflatable ring you got on, and you floated very at a slow speed, and they had waterfalls hitting you with cold water periodically, which would jolt you. It wasn't too much fun. And you could just meander around that. And that was rather popular with the young people and even the old people. But I was there when Vegas was a different place where they were still trying to give you a lot of value for the money to suck people into gamble. But I think they got too many people coming there for the vacation and not the gambling. They cheat, I guarantee it. And, some people over the years just go there and lose all your money. How many of their friends go there, and say, well, we got 2,000, we're going to gamble and come home with 75,000. Like, nobody, So, that's what goes on. So, they don't have the water. So they don't have the yacht attraction, right? They don't have the private island stuff going on, right? They don't have the water sports going on. They can't have a cruise ship pier, but this place would. The cruise ships go to Egypt. People want to go see the abomination idols, the pyramids and stuff like that, sphinxes. So they go there, and they'll stop at Gaza. They also go to Cyprus and Greece, and they'll stop at Gaza. And it'll bring them into Israel. They'll stop in Gaza, and then they'll just get on a bus and go to Israel rather than go stop in Haifa. It might even be a 2-day stop for people that want to go see things in Israel. I don't know. They're probably not going to set it up to have, 10 cruise boats at the same time. They'd probably set it up to handle a max of 4 cruise boats at the same time. One big long pier can handle 4, 2 on each side. They can do that. That's probably about all they'll do. So the potential is great, and then Trump figured, well, the people that are going to still be in Gaza, we'll put them in these cities we're building in Gaza, like Saudi Arabia built them. They're going to have a big wall, like probably 80-foot wall, and they'll be in the city, and the city's going to have a lot of growing. They're going to have the growing in the water plants, or maybe they'll put soil. And, it's going to be an eco-city, a special designed thing, and they'll have very modern transportation within the city. So what are they, how big you make the wall? You can make the city 1.5 miles long and half a mile wide. You know how many people you can put in there? Whew. All you got to do is focus on 30, 40-story high buildings. So you have a 40-story building, and it has, 10 apartments on the floor. You got 400 apartments, and you could put 20 of those, 25 of those in the place. So you have and you could build 5 or 6 of these cities, connect them even if you want. And they'll have stores and shopping plaza. You can go up 60 stories. That's no big deal. I think they stopped at about 40, but they could go more. Okay, they'll have underground. They'll connect down in the underground. They'll have shopping malls where you have your bakery. You'll have a food court. You'll have supermarkets. All of that stuff, right? The trick is to keep the people away from Gaza where the tourists are. I don't know how they'll do that other than just keep them in the cities. That would be, I think, the way to do it. Keep them in the cities. That would be my idea of how to do it, you know. So they could build these cities. They could build 5 of them if they need to. This is how they're thinking, and they could contain whoever they want in Gaza. But Trump has intentions of giving them a very generous piece of money to leave. So he's hoping that he gets rid of, there's about 2 million people there. He's probably hoping he gets rid of 1.5 million, and the 500,000 he could manage easily. And then either they work in the hotel district, which they would screen them, and that could work out. What do you mean? What do they do? Well, they could work as gardeners. They could work as groundskeepers. They could work as maids. They could work in food service. They could work as, dining room people in the restaurants. I seriously doubt they're going to let them work in the gambling casino and do the cheating. That isn't going to happen. I don't think. They could work as bartenders, which they probably wouldn't do. And they could work in Gaza as street cleaners, because they're going to keep that part with the hotels immaculate. Street cleaners clean the beach, the sand, garbage pickup and collection, take care of the trees and plants around the streets in Gaza. Work in shops. There'll be a lot of shops there. They probably aren't going to have many gasoline-powered vehicles or electric vehicles there. They'll arrange transportation for the tourists, probably with some sort of one of those cars that hangs off a rail, a monorail that goes electrically, logically, and takes them to stops where they can go visit other hotels, and they could go to the golf course, they could go to the discount malls, they can go to restaurants, they could go this and that, right? They'll have to have their own airport there, so they don't have to put up with Israeli security, so they'll have their own airport. And they'll have their own place for ships to come in. And that would be a very, very, very profitable situation for the Trump clan, but it ain't never going to happen. So he's stealing Israel's land. That land clearly belongs to Israel. He's stealing it for profit. And that is probably one of it's either the straw that the proverbial thing break the camel's back, or it's almost the last straw. Now, putting the $500 million military base there is going to be called to keep the peace in the Middle East, but it's really called for protecting the real estate development in Gaza. So foreigners will go there and invest in it. Okay? Because they're not going to invest in it and figure that the Palestinians or Hamas will just start blackmailing everybody and raping people and killing people and kidnapping them, hostages, all the normal stuff they do. So they're going to have, I don't know how many soldiers are going to be there. I would say to make this work, he has to have 3,000 to 5,000. 5,000 would make it work. 5,000 soldiers there would definitely be a substantial deterrent for anybody. Because they just got to deter them from fighting, and these people know if they start fighting against the 5,000, within hours, more are going to come, like airplanes, so they're not, so enthusiastic. Okay, that's my opinion. That would probably be one of the most desirable places for the military to get stationed if it ever happened, which it never will. Like getting stationed in Hawaii or someplace really nice like San Diego, I guess, is really nice. Um, that's the deal. Uh, so the American people are going to provide the security for that. Now, he might also build an annex, like a Navy base there. I would expect it. Or it would be a small base, and they would have a few patrol vessels that are, 60, 70 feet, 80 feet, something like that, like Coast Guard cutters, maybe even Coast Guard. And they would patrol around there. Some of the things they would do is rescue for the idiots that got boats there and yachts and get drunk and get into trouble. They got to save them. And fishermen, they got to save them, right? Okay. They also got to protect the pier. There'll be a commercial pier to offload supplies, and that has to be protected, and also where the cruise ships come. So I think they would probably need a half a dozen patrol boats, and they would probably keep 2, maybe 3 serious boats there, like destroyers or something like that, maybe 2. And they would, a lot of the time be moored up at a dock, and then some of the time they would go on patrols. But the cutter boats, remember, they were only worrying about 25 miles. So the Coast Guard cutter boats would be putting around out there, and they might have aircraft that take off from there and fly out 100, 200 miles over the ocean all the time to try to figure out what's going on. They put radar at the military base. That would tell them what's going on. They could easily reach out 300, 400 miles, which is about all they care about. And that's that type of thing. Will it ever happen? No. But is Trump trying to steal the land of Israel? Yeah, so he's no freaking friend of ours. He's just like all the other presidents of the United States. He's no friend of anybody. Let's talk about his stimulus package, okay? He would probably do this to everybody that's registered for a VA benefit, for disability insurance through Social Security, retirement through Social Security, or people that are taxpayers that are too young for Social Security and there's nothing wrong with them, and possibly people that are on welfare that never worked in their life, but they would be in the food stamp program or the welfare, Social Security, and they would be picked up over there. So if they're getting any type of government, money from Social Security and veterans and stuff, well, they would give it to them in that vehicle. So the retired people on Social Security would get it in their Social Security account, their debit card or their bank account, whatever they're getting, right? He may go over 2,000. He may go 3,000. I don't know. He's saying he wants to use the money that he's been collecting from the tariffs and distribute it back to the people. This is a very novel idea. So, what in the world is he up to, though? Well, I'll break it down for you, and it's very clever. You're coming up in days, about 12 days. You're coming up to Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is normally on a Thursday, I think the 3rd Thursday of the month. And I think what he's going to do is that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they're going to drop the money into the accounts of the Social Security recipients and all of that. And then the other people will get a check mailed to them. So the mail may go out on Sunday or some, I don't know, but the idea would be to get, maybe they'll do it that Thursday or Friday of the week before. The idea is to get the money in the hands of the people just before Thanksgiving. Why? Told you this a few times. People in America are busted up financially. There's a recession and it's on its way to a depression, but it's not a depression yet. And they probably need $70 to buy a big turkey for a family of 4 or 5. But people like to invite friends over and relatives, cousins, and all that. So that's going to cost more money. And some people get 2 turkeys. Then you're going to have to buy the condiments, and they're going to want to buy wine or booze, and it's a good $100 anyway to do a modest Thanksgiving setup. And if it's going to get big, $150, $175, depending on how many people you're trying to feed. So what this is going to do is it's going to give the people money to have a cheerful Thanksgiving. And they could celebrate the death of the North American Indians that they slaughtered when they tell you how friendly they are with them. But moving along, the day after Thanksgiving is most significant in America. And remember, Trump is worried about keeping the people happy. In addition, Trump is worried about the merchants. He doesn't want to see them come in with a lousy Thanksgiving, a lousy Christmas, and a lousy New Year's. He doesn't want that. That's just going to push the economy down worse. Got it? Worse. So what is he going to do? Get the money in the hands of the people before Thanksgiving, and then they'll have the money for Black Friday. You don't burn that much money on Thanksgiving. If somebody's really going to have a family of 4, is going to have a really big shindig with grandparents and cousins and friends, they might go through $250 or $300. I mean, what the heck are you going to, how much food are you going to buy, You get 2 big turkeys and you get all the other stuff. You're going to buy some booze and pie, and it's not that much. That wouldn't even be that high. But people today, a lot of people don't have $100, $125 to go out and do Thanksgiving the right way, the way they're used to doing it. Abundant turkey. How do people do it? They eat and they eat and they eat, and then they're so tired. Okay. The last time I threw a Thanksgiving shindig was decades ago in America, and I ate very little turkey, very little stuffing, very little vegetables, very little anything. It didn't have any booze. I was drinking beverages. I don't remember, it was soda, I think. And I didn't fall asleep and get tired. I was smart. When you sit there and do the gorge fest, you have a bad Thanksgiving because a half hour, an hour after you eat, you're sleepy. Why do that to yourself? You have a little bit of meat, 6 ounces, 8 ounces. Have a little bit of the stuffing, have a little bit of vegetables, small piece of bread, a little bit of gravy. Skip dessert or have a piece of pie, a real skinny one or something, and you're good. You don't fall asleep and get tired and gorge yourself with food. That's stupid. I never do that. I mean, I learned not to do that. I used to do it. I learned the hard way, the real hard way, not a good idea. So that's the way I would see it. So anyway, he saves Thanksgiving for the people. If they get the check before they run out, and they're going to buy a nice Thanksgiving spread, and that doesn't burn their money out. Now what happens? If you wait till December 15th to buy your Christmas presents, right? you basically are not going to get the good deals, right? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. By then, you're getting the dregs. So they've got this day called Black Friday, which conveniently pops up after. I don't get what just happened. It pops up the day after Thanksgiving, and they put specials out there. They call them loss leaders, but they put a bunch of them out there. So you might want to get a game console for the kids. Hopefully not your kids, but a lot of people do that. I don't want you to do that. You know, these controllers and stuff. I don't know. Maybe they're $300 or some for $99, and they might put 2,000 out. Whatever. So people are gonna storm the stores when they open. Okay, whenever that is, and they're gonna try to get these specials. And there's gonna be other specials, and they want to buy Christmas presents basically early. Okay, so they're off usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Not everybody. Government workers typically are off Thursday and they go to work Friday. Okay, the post office, for instance, closes Thursday, opens Friday. Okay, so it all depends who you're working for, but many companies and stuff just shut for 4 days. They have a 4-day weekend. So they'll do the shopping on Friday for Christmas, and they'll do the shopping on Saturday. And Saturday and Sunday and Friday, they'll buy the Christmas tree, the pagan idol. Okay, Jeremiah 10. But that's how the people in America are. They're mad upon their idols, so they'll buy the pagan tree. I don't know what a tree costs today. I only could go back many decades, and nice trees were $25 or $40. Today they must be $80, $100 or something like that. So they'll get themselves a nice tree. They've got the money. They'll buy the tree, right? They'll put the tinsel on it, just like Jeremiah 10 says not to do, they'll do, right? And they'll have presents to put under the tree, right? And they'll put it. Now, mind you, if you're dealing with a man and a wife, they're going to get $4,000, maybe $5,000 or $6,000. So they're going to have a good Thanksgiving spread. Now, I don't know. I would guess there's certain people in America that I think predominantly everybody's going to get turkey on Thanksgiving. But there's probably others that would get a ham, I guess. But I have never heard of anybody eating a T-bone or a New York strip on Thanksgiving, but who the heck knows, right? I don't know. I have no idea. But they might. So, they've got a good amount of money. So they're going to go and spend. Then they're going to buy presents. They're going to get a nice tree. And the family and the kids are going to look at the tree. They're going to look at the presents under the tree. And they're going to feel that the American way of life has pulled through. Trump has saved the day. While he steals the land from Israel, Trump is saving the day. God doesn't feel that way. Okay, so Trump is promoting the pagan fest days and the commercialization and the money, and the people can buy nice presents for the kids and all that. And some of the people are going to pay their rent up, maybe pay up their mortgage a payment or two, or a car payment or two, or the internet might be behind, or the cell phone might be behind, who the heck knows what, right? Some people may book a modest Christmas vacation, or not so modest, you know. If there's two people and Trump gives them $4,000 and they don't have kids, they could go someplace real easy for a vacation. I mean, it it, it depends. So Trump is going to save the day, get the people happy again. Okay, I told you this weeks ago. Now people are saying, "Oh, I don't know how Trump's going to do it. He needs to go to Congress. He needs to do this. He needs to do that." I don't know what he needs to do. I don't know. Okay. I don't know if he could just do it on executive order. I have no idea. So he's going to try to settle up the shutdown. Okay? The members of the House were told, I think, yesterday, maybe the day before, to get back to Washington, D.C. They need to vote. So they're getting ready to vote on ending the shutdown. I don't believe it's done yet, but I believe it will get done. And that means people are going to get their back pay. So Trump is building everything to a crescendo for the Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's season to boost the people up. Okay? They'll be real happy. Okay? They'll be real happy. I know the Thanksgiving in San Francisco was, a lot of people would go home to families or not. A lot of people there, because of their practices, were rejected by their families, so they would have the Thanksgiving with their friends and connect, their cohorts and buddies and friends, and they would have that. Um, Retail would put, turkey images up with pilgrims and stuff like that. Um, Retail it would generally be a 1 day holiday. Now the businesses that were downtown, like the coffee shops, the bars, and the restaurants that were downtown San Francisco, where the businesses are, which were closed pretty much for the 4 days, they'd shut. There was no point in opening. They didn't have enough people. But businesses in the residential areas and all that would, and the tourist areas, they'd open. Thanksgiving, there were tourists in San Francisco, but it was pretty dead. The streets would be pretty quiet. Um, it was basically stay home, you know. Uh, I remember once I was a very young guy. This is many, many years ago. I had my own apartment in San Francisco. I mean, I was really young. I just stopped working in law enforcement. I got out of that, and I was um, had an apartment, and my aunt and uncle and their kids came to visit me. And the place I was working for, the guy would, the owner of the business would give us a turkey. So you got a certificate. You took it to, I think, Safeway or someplace, and you were able to get a turkey. So I got the turkey. So my aunt and uncle came into San Francisco for the weekend for some reason, I don't remember. And they stayed in my house with 3 kids, so that was a real zoo, because I had a 1 bedroom. And they made the turkey, and I was not home. And by the time I got back, they had cleaned the turkey up. I didn't even get any. I remember that. I just laughed. I didn't care about that. You know, I didn't care. I just thought it was rude, but I didn't care. So, yeah, it was a weird day in San Francisco. It was really quiet. and tourists were there, and they would go to the hotels usually, and they would go have the buffet, the turkey buffet in the hotel, or they made do. I mean, uh, Christmas, San Francisco got really weird. They had suicides every year. It got so bad, people would be jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge for Christmas, and they had to do special things back in the 70s to stop people from jumping, make it more and more difficult. And the highway patrol used to be very vigilant, looking for people trying to jump, and you know, it was not a good deal. A guy that worked for me once, many years ago, this was in the 80s, he was a lawyer. I had a lawyer working for me, and he committed suicide. He didn't jump off the bridge. What they said he did is he parked the car on the Marin County side, and he went to the water, I guess, with his clothes on, and just kept swimming out and swimming out and swimming out until he drowned. And he drowned, and they found his body, and they figured that's what he did. So San Francisco is loaded with suicides that time of year. Not an immense amount, but it picks up. All around the United States, it picks up. And the people in other countries, like in Norway and Russia, they have the Snow Queen. Instead of Santa Claus, they got the Snow Queen. I mean, it's so stupid. People put stockings up by the fireplace, and leave milk and cookies out for Santa Claus. And then there was a song most of you wouldn't know about. It was in the 40s or 50s. It went, "I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus." It's a very cute song, but it was still a pagan celebration. So that all went on, and then San Francisco emptied out substantially at around the 23rd, 22nd or so. It would get more and more empty. Starting around the 19th or 20th, it would start getting quieter. And by the time the 22nd and 23rd came, San Francisco was really quiet. I mean, really, really quiet. And people went away, and then it would pop up by even the 27th. By the 28th, it was full again, and then it was coming up for New Year's, and they would all come back for New Year's. New Year's in San Francisco was a huge thing. Now, Halloween in San Francisco was something else. I remember people walking on the streets in Polk Street. This is back in around very late 70s, 1980, 1979. Walking on the street in the costumes, just going in the bars and out of the bars wearing costumes, going up and down the street. Very weird. There was really a big celebration, and there were so many parties. But, they would stagger their parties. People would have parties for 3-4 days before Thanksgiving, so they could go to all their friends' parties. But when you got to New Year's, you couldn't do that. You had to do it on New Year's Eve, So they would go party hopping. They would go to somebody's party for an hour and go to somebody else there, things like that. And then I used to go to Disney on January 1st for a number of years with some family. We'd come down there and I'd meet them, and it was pretty funny. You'd get there January 1st and everybody's leaving Disney. You see the checkout line is huge and the check-in line is nothing, There's nobody checking in. The whole place is emptying out. They got hangovers and, So we'd go check in, and the park would be pretty empty. Everybody in the park was talking of, the staff would, there was a big gala event New Year's Eve in Disney and Universal Studios with big celebrations, and I didn't care for the pagan celebrations, so we went down after. But so I think this is what Trump's going to do. I don't know if he has to get it approved by Congress. Look, Congress may approve it. The Republicans will approve it because Trump wants it, and it's probably going to be good for morale of the country. And the Democrats will do it because it's a handout to the people. But Trump will make sure that it doesn't go to the illegal aliens getting aid and assistance from the government. And I don't know how he'll cut it off, the amnesty seekers as well. He's going to find a way to do it, I'm sure. And the Democrats aren't going to like that. But I do believe they'll come up with a compromise. And it will... it'll work out. It'll work out. So I think he's going to do it, and everybody's going to be pretty happy about that. We'll see. The Congress may stop it, but I don't. So the people are going to get a windfall. They're going to get their November check late, so it'll be middle of the month probably, or maybe even towards the third week or the third week. So they'll have a windfall there, then they'll get a windfall from the stipend, the stimulus, and it's going to get them through. So then the retailers are going to turn in a good Christmas, and that's going to be a bolster to the economy, and they'll turn in a good Thanksgiving. And the people that are in the lending business with the cars and the mortgages and the rent, they're going to get their payments to some extent. And I don't know what people are going to do. If they're behind on their rents, are they going to turn around and pay the rent with their stimulus money, which might be, let's say, $1,200? And are they going to pay the $1,200? Or are they going to buy presents? I don't know what they'll do. I don't have any idea. The people owe so much. They owe on medical. They owe on insurance premiums. They owe on car premiums, car insurance. They owe on their normal credit card bills. They owe on this, they owe on that. They're just buried in debt. So I don't know what they're going to do with the money. Trump doesn't care if they take the money and they pay their bills back. That'll help the economy too, so he doesn't care. He's not worried about that. Doesn't care. He just wants the economy stimulated. I went on the IRS website. It wasn't on the IRS website. It was in Trump's social media. He has his own social media thing. That's where it appeared. I investigated. It is true. No, it doesn't say that. It is real. It is real. It doesn't mean we're getting it. You're getting it. It means that Trump says he's going to do it. It doesn't mean he's going to do it. But he did state it on social media. Will he do it? I don't know. There are obstacles to him doing it. Without a doubt, there are obstacles. I don't know if he needs Congress. I don't understand what he has to do, and I don't think he does either, but he had been talking about it for 3 or 4 months, but he stopped. And no, it's not the IRS website, it's Trump's social media. He said that very specifically he intends to give everybody um, at least $2,000 to every person. Okay? Now, there's a lot of details about this that we don't know. When? Maybe he's not going to do it for Thanksgiving. Maybe he's going to do it December 15th for Christmas. I don't know. Okay? I don't know. I think he's going to try to do it for Thanksgiving, but he might not have time. Okay? He might not have time. All right. So, no, it is real, but it doesn't mean Trump's going to be able to do it, but it does mean Trump said he's going to do it. That's real. Okay, Trump says a lot of things, but the IRS website, no, it's not on the IRS website. Okay. Let me see if other people were talking about it. Well, I'll skip that. I don't know. I investigated it, and it's real to the point that Trump said it on his social media. Does that's as real as it is right now? Okay. All right. But that's reasonably decent. He basically saying that they got the money from the tariffs. It's the people's money. The people are paying for the tariffs. We have a prayer request for BR, Bravo Romeo, BR, Bravo Romeo, BR. Prayer request is to find a good, fair deal on a house. So BR, Bravo Romeo, the prayer request is to find a good, fair deal on a nice house for BR, Bravo Romeo. Okay, I'll delete that because we did it. I don't believe we have any other prayer requests. They're talking about this base housing thousands of American troops and serve future international stabilization efforts. So I don't know what, like in the South Korea. In South Korea, they have 28,000. I don't think they'll do anything that size or even close to it. What I'm in the dark, I'm trying to get people to help me, is I don't know how big of a base $500 million buys. I just don't know. Sorry. I imagine it's a pretty good sized base, but I don't know. Now, we know in Jeremiah 50 and 51, America turns against Israel. It says she will do evil in our sight, which means here in Israel. So this is prophecy getting ready to fulfill. Okay? So, yeah, I think this is real. He's got troops, a small amount, I believe it's in Ashdod, in Israel, right at the north border of Gaza. And it's a very small amount, and they're not, infantry or special forces. They're kind of like, think tank people, watching the ceasefire and stuff. So, let's see what happens with this. I don't have any reason to believe it's not going to come to pass. It is prophecy. They are going to turn against us. Now, does that mean Trump will turn against us? No. Anything can happen with Trump, okay? He's old. He's rather overweight. Trump could stroke out, heart attack out. Trump could get sick and ill and can't work anymore. Trump could get assassinated. They've been trying to kill him before. Trump could get impeached. Any of these things. Okay. They're saying that he wants to build it on the Israel-Gaza border. So he's probably trying to keep peace. Now, this might be, I'm sorry to say, because Trump's such a weak jerk, it might be that Trump is not going to demilitarize Gaza. Instead, he's going to put troops there. So if Gaza is going to shoot missiles at Israel, they're going to have to go over the heads of the American troops. But they don't care. They'll do that because they know Trump will do nothing to them. So Trump never understood being weak is going to be the downfall of his country and its destruction. But it is. But it's prophesied. That's the real downside. But he's playing into it. He's in a snare. Jeremiah 50, verse 24. Trump is in a snare, and he doesn't know much to do. Like the little old woman that lived in a shoe, the little old woman that lived in the White House. This would also support Trump's bases and operations that he has that are in Syria and Iraq. And he also has troops in Jordan and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, Bahrain and Qatar and the UAE. So it would help with all of that. The Philippines, they've turned against Israel. A bunch of good churchianity people showing their true colors. We don't need Israel. Get the heck rid of Israel. So the Philippines favor Gaza over Israel and have decided to stop buying any military equipment or weapons from Israel over the Gaza situation. They don't like what Israel is doing in Gaza. Now, they say that as if we got up in the morning on October 7th and snuffed. Is that you making noise? Honey, is that you? What the heck is going on? I think it's the guy working on the roof or something. It's coming through the pipe for the wood-burning stove, which I don't want to spend the money this year on wood. We don't have. Wood's expensive. I don't even know how much it would be this year. I don't even want to find out. Excuse me. Yeah. Good. Okay, hold on a minute and I'm going to take care of that in a second, okay? Thank you. Guys, I got to do something. I'll be pretty quick about it. Sorry, guys. All right. All right. The next thing we need to know about, well, in the news is Hezbollah said enough is enough. We're attacking them every day. The American ambassador to Lebanon is telling the Lebanese government they better get off the stick by the end of the month and disarm Hezbollah, and they're not doing it, and they say they're going to do it, and they don't. Everything is just what I told you. They would drag it out till January, and then drag it out to April, and then July, and it keep going. Trump's apparently a little bit on the dumb side and doesn't understand that. So all that's going to happen is they'll ask for more time because they can't make the deal do it by the end of the month. And Trump is probably going to let Israel do a big attack on Lebanon because they've had many months to do something about it and they haven't, and they're not going to, because the military of Lebanon is like 60% Shiite, so Muslim, so they're not going to attack the other Muslims. They're just not going to do it, and they're afraid of Hezbollah. So Israel's going to have to do a lot of attacking by air, and it may be a ground incursion. I don't know, but we attack them every day. Once, twice, 3 times a day, we do targeted assassinations or we hit a facility. So I told you the Sea of Galilee water is way down. It dropped to a level lower over the past 2 years, the time of the war, which our boy Netanyahu brought on us. It's dropped far faster than it ever has, and it's reached a low level that it's never been this low in decades. And they don't understand something's wrong because the rabbis are their enemies, not their friends, and this sort of stuff. It's just absurd. It's just absurd. This is not a real Israel. It's a fake Israel. So, excuse me. Yes. Yes. Okay. Do you have English or Rockabri? You have Anglit or Medabera? No. Okay. Hebrew. Okay. Efo Atak Shav. Are you in Perea Elite? Okay. I need go. Yeah. Derek Hashaket, Ken. Ani Garab Derek Hashaket. Okay? Low Okay. Ani gara b'derek hashaked. Bait sheli b'derek hashaked. Hashaked. Ma? Ma? לא מבין, סליחה, לא מבין. But אני בבית כל היום. Okay, I don't, לא מבין, יש לי רק צד עברית. Okay. Okay, I don't know. Hello? I don't know what this guy. He's talking Hebrew like, I don't know what he's saying. Then he says he doesn't understand me. I don't know what he's. So the experts are saying the decline is unprecedented for the Sea of Galilee. So this plan of Trump's for the base has actually been going on for weeks now. It's just getting out. Okay, nobody knew about it, and the military. Well, yeah, the military in Israel is rather disturbed about the influence Trump seems to have on Netanyahu. Now, this is very disturbing. I'll read it to you. An Israeli food tech startup company says it will start selling its non-dairy, lab-produced milk made from dairy proteins at local supermarkets and retailers early next year, with the products set to start appearing in restaurants within weeks. You see, the Fleischik, the meat restaurants in Israel, won't allow milk or cream in the coffee. Only non-dairy creamers. So they'll consider this to be non-dairy because it didn't come out of an animal, and they'll allow that in the restaurant. Those are the restaurants it's talking about, I believe. The name of the company is Remilk, Remilk. It's a developer of cultured milk and dairy, said Monday it had partnered with Gad Dairies to start putting its products on shelves, bringing cow-free milk touted as identical to the Israelis. Cow-free milk. They say this milk product, which isn't milk, is free of lactose, cholesterol, antibiotics, and growth hormones, will be sold at supermarket chains under the label New Milk. I don't know what to tell you, but I drink very little milk, and I'm not real enthusiastic about this. I don't know what the heck is going on, you know. I wouldn't like drinking it. I don't know what the heck it is. All right. So that's what I got for the news, and we'll go into the Bible now. Let me see what's going on at the live stream, this new format. Hold on a minute. Hello? מה?
זה הבית אמר קדימה.
אני בבית עכשיו, איפה אתה?
תצא בחוץ. בחוץ, תצא בחוץ.
All right, אני בו לרקוב דרך השקט עכשיו, בסדר? בחוץ, I go.
אני בחוץ. כן,
Right,
תצא,
בחוץ.
תצא.
Okay, טוב, okay. Guys, let me go out and look for this guy.
את המקום הבא.
רגע, I go.
איפה אתה?
בבית, אני בבית, אני בו,
בבית הנכון?
אני בו לרחוב דרך השקט עכשיו. אוקיי, בחוץ. רגע, yes, hello. I don't know what this idiot courier is doing. Somebody took the lock on my front gate. It's a combination lock where you got 4 numbers and you slide a dial, and they put it on backwards and you can't open the combination now. I don't know who did that to us. Whoever did it sabotaged us. I'm so upset. I don't know what that schmuck is doing with my package, where he's putting it. I don't know what he's up to. I'm going to have to complain to the company. He sent me a message, you stupid idiot. The couriers in this country are such pigs. It's just, they think you work for them. I don't know what this idiot said. I think he was going to leave it in the supermarket or something. I tell you, they're the worst people, the worst companies. Everything in Israel is totally lacking customer service, which is the people just being mean and nasty to each other. Now, we're going to cover this today. That's why 2/3 are getting cut off dead. It's in Zechariah 13, verses 8 and 9. I'll read it to you. And I'll tell you something, they deserve it, in my opinion. You can't live with them. They're just pigs to each other. Lying, cheating, stealing, corrupting the government to take advantage of each other, paying off judges to sue people illegally. Zechariah 13:8. It shall come to pass that in all the land, saith, it's the land of Israel, not the world, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the 3rd part will be left therein, and I will bring the 3rd part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried, and they shall call on my name, and I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Jehovah Elohim. And that's not the world, that's Israel. And, you know, you see this, to set the stage for it being now, you see this in Malachi 4, Malachi 3. Verse, I don't know, 5 or something. And speaking of Elijah, but who shall abide the day of his coming? This is Malachi 3:2. And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like a fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of fire, of silver, and shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem, see, that's what we are now, pre-Israel, be as in the days of old, as in the former years. And I will come near to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith Jehovah. You see, they're all going to get dead. I tell you a story. There was an old widow woman pushing 90 behind us. She died. She had a house, and somebody wanted to get the house to sell it to somebody else, and the real estate company went through all her paperwork. They had the house 30 years probably. and went through the paperwork and saw one little piece of paper had an error in it, and moved to get to take her off the house, to say she had no right to have the house. This is a woman pushing 90 that was in very bad shape, right? A widow. Okay? And she had to go get a lawyer and fight them, and she won. You see what goes on here? This is what goes on here. All right, back to the Bible. Now, you see them getting killed in Malachi 4. I will show you. I'll explain it to you. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Jehovah of armies, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise. That's Yeshua, with healing in his extremities. That's where the tzitzit are in the borders of the clothing. It's not wings. And you shall go forth, and frolic about as the calves of the stall. And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord. Now in Zechariah 12, Israel is surrounded in the siege from the nations around us. They're not inside Israel. This is the people of Israel inside Israel, and the ashes under their feet inside Israel. So this is the 2/3 that get cut off, that get burned up. You got it? It's going to happen at the same time as the enemies get burned up on the borders, which I believe Elijah and Enoch, the two witnesses, will be doing that. But maybe Jehovah is going to do it, because he says he's going to be a swift witness. Okay? They're all going to be gone. And there's going to be a lot of house vacancies. Their houses aren't going to get burned up. They'll get burned up, wherever they happen to be. Okay. Let's continue. So let's talk about Elijah again. And I'll read you Matthew 17, starting in verse 1. And after 6 days, Yeshua taketh Peter, James, and John his brother. And that would not be Apostle John. Well, he was an apostle, but it's another one. Okay. And bringeth them up into a high mountain apart, and was transfigured. Apart means apart from other people, and was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias, it's Elijah, talking with him. Okay, he knew he was going to be dying very shortly, so they were helping him out. Now they're his brothers from heaven, from before the earth was created. I've covered this with you many times. Elijah and Enoch, when you read the last line, the last verse in Malachi 4, or Zechariah 4 rather, in Zechariah 4, you realize that they're anointed sons of God standing next to the Lord of the whole earth there from heaven. And these were the sons of God from before the creation of the universe. And when you read Job 1:6, it says, God was, well, I could read it to you. The churches don't teach this, but that's not my fault. That's their fault. That's their problem. So don't hold it against me. And it's in your Bible, and the stupid people are going to say, oh, he's a crackpot. Yeah, because they don't believe their Bible, and then they call somebody who does believe their Bible a crackpot. It's in Job 1:6. Now there was a day when the sons, plural, B'nai, sons of God, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Now, Satan knows their spirits, so you rest assured that Elijah and Apostle John are here for a long time, and Enoch are having problems probably since birth with that schmuck Satan. But they will get Satan, his kingdom is going, He's such a jackass. You hear how I talk about him all the time, right? Yet nothing happens to me. Here I am, He's got no power. He's a 2-bit punk hustler. That's all he is. He's got cheap politics. Look in the eye, do the evil eye. He's a 2-bit punk. And his spiritual warfare is 2-bit junk. Any believer just throws the demons out of them, and they got to go to a very miserable, dry place. They're not happy about it, but they disguise that from the people they're thrown out of. And the dumbbells that serve them, they're really dumb. What you would think they unclean spirits teach them how to do witchcraft, sorcery, spells, enchantments on other people, and how to swindle other people, rob them, cheat them, deceive them, right? And doesn't it occur to these idiots that the demons are doing it to them also? No, because they're that stupid. And they like doing evil. Bunch of idiots. Really dumb. I don't know who's dumber, the demons or them. Probably them. All right. Let me get back in there. Moses is not one of the 2 witnesses based on this. This is the church lying to you with intent, purpose, and design. It says in the scripture, okay, it's elected unto man to die only once, then the judgment. Moses died. King David died. They can't come back and die again. And they know that. They're lying to you to make you believe false doctrine. They hate your guts. How does Satan work? He comes as an angel of light. He makes you think you're his friend. So he sets up churches, and then he curses you in the churches and tries to send you to the lake of fire. That's what he does. Go to the churches, see what happens. And then you're going to call me an idiot and a jerk and a liar and a buffoon, but I'm the one reading you your own Bible, and you're rejecting your own Bible, not me. You're rejecting the Bible. And Yeshua said, if you reject me, I'll reject you. And he's the Word made flesh, so he is the Bible. So keep it up, and I'll see you. I'll look down on you in the lake of fire. Not that I'm going to get any pleasure out of it, but that's what you're doing to yourself, and you think you're so smart, and you got such spiritual insight. You're a dumbbell also. What's wrong with you? And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were sore afraid. And Yeshua came and touched them and said, arise and be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Yeshua only. And as they came down from the mountain, Yeshua charged them, saying, tell the vision to no man, until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. And his disciples asked him, saying, why then say the scriptures that Elijah must first come? And Yeshua answered and said unto them, Elijah truly shall first come and restore all things. Before Yeshua returns to earth, Elijah has to restore all things. But I say unto you that Elijah is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed, whatever they wanted. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. Okay, so Elijah has to restore all things, okay, before Yeshua comes. And this is, I don't know if they teach that or not. They probably do. They don't care. So Satan is trying to make things as hard as possible here in Israel. That's why the people were so despicable. Do you understand that? If the people get cut off, Satan's happy because the people go into the lake of fire. That makes Satan happy. And that makes his demon servants happy. They're so stupid. Could you imagine the looks on their faces when they realize the angels are taking them to the pit after they die? It must be classic. Such shock and terror, and they won't believe it. Why? Because Satan is running every country in the world, and God's not really in the habit of doing noticeable, verifiable signs and wonders right now. So that's the deception for them. So they're sucked into it. But when it turns, they're going to get violent. And Elijah's about to turn it. Eliyahu in Hebrew. Now, why do the people like to call God Jehovah and Yeshua Jesus when there's no letter J in the Hebrew alphabet even? Because they want to do away with Israel. They think the church is superior to Israel. The pastors teach them that they're going to go up to heaven for 7 years. Of course, they're going to be gods. Then they're going to come down with Yeshua and reign with a rod of iron over Israel. You stupid Jew. Bam! That's what they think. There's no scripture for it. It says Yeshua will have a rod of iron and will rule over the Goyim, over the heathen. Not Israel with the rod of iron. They have no concept of the scriptures. They do what they want. They don't know anything. They're in another gospel. And they reject Israel. They don't want Israel. They want them. They need Israel to fulfill prophecies so they can get into their rapture. It's just sick. It's all fantasy land. They're as much off the scriptures as the Mormon, Jehovah's Witnesses. They're no different. They're gone. They're not on the Bible. They're not. They're in Gaga land. Extra biblical teaching. They have another gospel. Malachi 4, 5, and 6. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. That's Gog and Magog. Now, they don't know about the second 70 in Daniel 9:24. It doesn't say 70 weeks. It says 70, 70. It's the same exact word, Shavim, Shavim. I've showed it to you many times on the screen. It's in every single Hebrew Bible they got. It says the same thing, Shavim, Shavim, 270s. The first one was either the Babylonian captivity, which you would say, oh, what was that? But it was more likely from the birth of Yeshua to 70 years. Yeshua came through when? Around the year 0, right? That's when he would have logically been born, not born 4 or 5 years before Christ. How could Christ be born 4 or 5 years before himself? And he can't be born 4 or 5 years after his death. So he was born at 0. And when was the temple destroyed and Israelite destroyed and many people killed? 70 AD. That's your real secondary. They were given 70 years to repent. And what happens when Yeshua appears in the clouds? That's when the sun goes dark and the moon turns to blood. Okay? And he appears and we have everlasting life. And that ticks the second 70. And the second 70 is over. What the sign of that is the moon goes dark, the sun goes dark, and the stars fall and fail to give their light. And then Yeshua comes, Revelation 19, with the garment stained red on a horse, the double-edged sword coming out of his mouth, which is, I believe, an allegory, with millions of angels on their white horses, okay? And that's when New Jerusalem comes down and all of that. And many people will get killed at the end of Gog and Magog, including the bad Israelis. And you could read Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11, and in verse 9, when this happens, you realize that the Israelites get a mark, which is most likely Jehovah's name, in their forehead, and nothing bad happens to them. And the church never teaches that. Read Zechariah 14, read Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11, They don't teach that. They teach lies. And they know they're lying. They do it on purpose. How can they get to you unless they make you think they're your friend? And Satan comes as an angel of light. They got to make you think they're your friend. But they teach you another gospel. And if you're comfortable with another gospel, you should be comfortable not being in heaven. You should be comfortable in the lake of fire. I don't know how you'll ever be comfortable there, but you're really doing it to yourself. You're rejecting the scriptures. Yeshua said he's going to reject you. If you reject knowledge, I will reject you. And if you're okay with that, heck, well, who am I to stop you? You have the right to throw yourself into the lake of fire. I can't stop that. That's what you want to do. Go ahead and do it. Luke 1, verse 9. According to the custom of the priest's office, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple. So he would have been a Kohanim, a descendant of Aaron, going in the temple of the Lord. And the whole multitude of the people were praying without at the time of incense. And there appeared unto him an angel of the Lord standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zechariah saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zechariah, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elisheva, or Elizabeth in English, shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name Yochanan, or John, and thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the Holy Spirit even from his mother's womb. And many of the children of Israel shall be turned to the Lord their God, and he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children. He will go in the power and in the spirit and power of Elijah. So you see, John the Baptist was not Elijah. He had the spirit of Elijah. The next one is Elijah. Now, Elisha also had the spirit of Elijah, a double portion. So Elijah had it, Elisha had it, John the Baptist had it, then Elijah, the real Elijah, comes back. And born of a woman, growing up, spending his time in Israel to some extent anyway. Because he has to come from amongst Israel. So he's not a Goyim. He's not from the heathen. He's from Israel. It has to be. It says so. And many of the children of Israel shall be turned to the Lord their God, and he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the disobedient to wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. Okay. So it's not him. Some of the church jackasses try to teach you that Elijah came and he's not coming again. Yeah, that's their wish. And you see, Satan's fighting hard against this because he wants the people to be steeped in sin. To delay end times. Now I'm in Luke 1:18. And Zechariah said unto the angel, whereby shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife well stricken in years. And the angel answering said unto him, I am Gabriel, that stand in the presence of God, and am sent to speak unto thee, and to show thee these glad tidings. And behold, thou shalt be dumb and not able to speak until the day that these things shall be performed, because thou believest not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their season. So he got punished for not believing. Now let's go to Acts 3:20 and 21. And he shall send Yeshua HaMashiach, whom the heaven must receive until the times of restitution of all things. You see why Satan's fighting it with Elijah? Because Yeshua has to stay in heaven until all things are restored. And it's Elijah that does that. It doesn't say Elijah and Enoch, but it implies it. But it mentions Elijah specifically. Okay? Could you say that Elijah is number 2 after Yeshua? If you want to order things, I think you could. The times of restitution is restoring all things which God has spoken by the mouths of his holy prophets since the world began. So for this to happen, the restitution of all things, God does not build on Satan's work. Yeshua says, don't build on another man's work. Well, the Lord honor doesn't do that either. He's not building on Satan's work. And Satan will always corrupt abominable practices, built up all these cities and countries. That's why he's destroying all the nations that he scattered the Israelites into, amongst other reasons, because they were so wicked towards the Israelites. And ultimately would banish them, confiscate their goods and money, and so forth. And that's also why the next temple comes down from heaven. It's not a corruptible man's work. And the tabernacle is the original tabernacle that we'll have. It says so in the last 3 verses of Ezekiel 37. And it was built by men ordained of God to do it in a certain way, and then the prophet Jeremiah hid it in Mount Nebo in a cave and sealed the cave up. So Elijah has a very, very, very important role, and then after he finishes and he rises from the dead with Enoch, and they go up to heaven, that's part of all things being restored. He had to die because he came to earth, and it's elected unto man to die only once. He came a long time ago but never died, so he has to get that out of the way. So does Enoch. So they die, then they go back to heaven, and they're restored in their right place after having died. Okay? So Satan's fighting a losing battle, and we're at the tail end of it, basically, and it's hard because, if Satan really knows how close he is to going down, and he's fighting tooth and nail, and it really stinks having that jackass fight, And it's annoying because he's just an idiot. He's mentally ill. He's been taken down from what he used to be to nothing. And he's absolutely mentally ill. And he's full of hate. So are his demons. And they just want to destroy all the people they can. As a lifestyle, the way they destroy people is they get God to punish them. That's how they destroy people. By breaking the law. And that's what they do. They've dedicated their everything to it. It's beyond these morons' mental health to stop doing evil and hope God is merciful to them in the punishment, which probably would be the case. But instead, they're trying to punish God by killing the people on earth. See, they're still so twisted. They've been thrown out of heaven, and they still think they have some power. They're they're so stupid, but they're such a pain in the neck, okay? And they just want to hang on, and they're not. And it's like you got to peel their fingers away. They're such pieces of trash, you know. And the people that serve them are so lost, and they're so stupefied. They don't even know, you know. You know, many years ago, I went into, there were chat rooms on America Online back in the 90s. That was the big thing. And I used to open up a chat room about, you know, uh, the church isn't the church, or Messianic Judaism and stuff like that. And I would chat with people. That had nothing to do at night. I would do that as a way to minister. People would come in, you know. And I one time saw a chat room, and it was something to do with witchcraft or something like that. And I went in there, and there were these idiots that were Satanists, you know, on a very new, immature level, were having a debate as if it's ethical to, it was guys, if it was ethical to put spells on girls to get them and fall in love with them and marry them, if it was ethical. Now, this is a prime example of stupid people that are believing that they're really gods because they could do spells and enchantments. And we could also erase anything they can do. You know that. That's found in Luke 10, starting in verse 12. We can erase it. So, you know, their power is worthless to us, but to others it has some effect. And they're sitting there talking about, is it ethical to do this? I mean, they're so stupid. You know? It's so stupid. And they'll think we're stupid because they got more money than us, and you know. Oh, God doesn't care about them. They don't mean much to God, believe me. You'll see that in the future very shortly. They think it's never going to happen. These prophecies of future, they think it's never going to happen. They think they got God in place. They got him tied up, corralled. They don't have to worry about him. It's going to come upon them suddenly. That's what Sodom, like the days of Sodom. They thought everything was okay. They weren't stopping anything. Then they got burned up with fire and brimstone. The days of Noah, they thought everything was going to continue. There wouldn't be any flood or rain. There was never rain. They had dew to water the crops, and there wouldn't be any rain. And it started to rain, and then it kept raining, and they drowned and died. And that was that. They don't know any better till they get killed. That's it. That's the reality of this. And we know it, and they don't. And they're so close to getting killed now. But they'll keep doing evil and wicked, and Satan keeps trying to keep everything as evil and wicked as he can. And it's just frustrating and annoying, really, more than anything. Now, none of us know when it's going to happen. It could happen like that, you know. The things that we're looking for prophetically are the siege in Jerusalem, and Revelation 17, Washington, D.C. to get hit, and then it starts falling apart for America rather quickly and steadily. And that's what we're waiting for. Okay. All right, I'll get a prayer out for all of us. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father Yehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers, for us to have your peace, safety, protection, and to be happy, healthy, and whole, and the same for our animals and pets. And your healing and recuperative power would flow through us, and we would continue to be healed, and we would have strength, stamina, and endurance, and we would have adequate finances and money and extra money, and you would lift and remove from us all the problems of the unclean spirits that they cause for us and the people that serve them. Any and all of these problems would go away from us. And I pray that we would all do more spiritual warfare and better spiritual warfare to drive Satan more and more crazy and crazier and crazier. The crazier those idiot demons in him get, the more mistakes they make. And that's a good thing when they make mistakes, and they make plenty of them. They're pretty stupid, and they don't know what to do.
Are you off?
Not yet.
Okay. See how this one? Okay.
And I pray for
Coming in.
better videos of Peace Yerushalayim.
Right, it would see.
B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. Thanks.